Hi, and welcome back to Brass. In this episode, I want to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program and who is eligible and how you calculate the loan amount. The loan amount actually will be calculated by your banker when you give them the information required with the application. The application has been uploaded to the Department of Treasury website. I'll put the link in the description to this video below. It is https://home.treasury.gov. There is a red line, a horizontal line in the banner of the website. Click on that and then go down. There's a small list and you can click on the application. But I have the application here. I'm going to go over it with you in just a minute. You can pause the video and go get it so we can go over it together, or just come back at another time, or just follow along now. The loans, you can apply for these loans beginning April 3rd for any entity, which is a partnership, a corporation, a LLC, and it also includes tribal businesses and not-for-profits that are 501c3 designated. 501c6 are not eligible. Those are usually chambers of commerce. Individuals and independent contractors are also eligible for this loan. Your application period begins April 10, so you've got another week. Because this law was just passed on March 27, 2020, there's not been a lot of time to get everything ready. The banks are getting ready now. Because you can't go into a bank physically to give your application and your supporting documentation, you need to reach out to your banker to find out what method they prefer. Some are trying to update websites to include a centralized email link to receive these applications. Others may do it over the telephone or by fax, and still others may have you go and put it through the drive-through. So reach out to them. At the beginning, it might be best to deal with a bank who is already SBA approved. There is a very easy process for banks that used to have a relationship with the SBA to have that reinstated. And this loan is eligible for any third party also to make the loan, and the SBA will take it. So it is not limited to financial institutions. Also, credit unions can make these loans for you. There is a presumption of eligibility if you were in business on February 15 of 2020. There are, however, other requirements. The standard requirements on collateral and guarantees is not required. So personal financial statements, not required. Credit checks, not required. The IRS is presently closed, so they cannot obtain transcripts of your tax return. So the borrowers will need to provide their most recent tax return, which should be the 2018, and any payroll records to support your request. So let me go through who is eligible first. I generally explained it. There has been information out there that it is limited to businesses with 500 or fewer employees. That's not exactly correct. A business who has 500 or fewer employees can apply, so long as it's not a marijuana distribution company or a legal casino or a live sex business. However, if you have more than one location, and at each location there are fewer than 500 employees at each, you can apply for those separate locations, even if they have the same owner. Further, if you are a franchisee who owns multiple franchise locations, those can be applied together or separately to the 500 employee per location. If you're going to submit a loan application for a separate location, those should be on separate applications to keep it all straight. The SBA will keep track based upon tax identification number, but the 500 employee part came from an SBA administrator on a telephone call today. And so, in addition to those requirements, there are specific industries that are included in all of this, and not surprisingly, they're primarily service and food and entertainment related. because of what has gone on. So they have carved out, in addition to those qualifications, the NAICS designation for a business that begins with the number 72 are included. And I'm going to read you this list because you may not be aware of them. They're in different categories. Accommodations: hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, resorts, casino hotels, guest houses, youth hostels, housekeeping cabins and cottages, all other travel accommodations such as Airbnb and VRBO, RV parks, RV camps, RV campgrounds, worker camps, rooming and boarding homes, dormitories, and then in the food service and drinking places category, any place that prepares meals or snacks for immediate consumption on or off the premises. They say dinner cruises are not eligible in that category. Specialty food services include food trucks, caterers, event caterers, food carts, airline food contractors, food concessions, such as for sports or entertainment conventions or music halls or concert halls, those types of companies. Cafeteria service contractors for hospitals, schools, and government. Ice cream trucks, mobile concession stands that are portable, mobile refreshment stands, mobile food carts, and mobile snack carts. So think, golf cart at the golf course, those snack girls, the people who own that part of the company. Drinking places, generally bars and taverns. And then we have full service restaurants which serve alcohol, whether buffet, sit down, or counter order. Ice cream and yogurt shops, cookie shops, and non-alcoholic beverage places. So think smoothie places or pressed juice or such as that. Then limited service restaurants are included. Those are delis, pizza delivery businesses, family restaurants with limited service, maybe only lunch or breakfast and lunch or maybe only dinner. Takeout places, fast food locations, fast casual businesses, takeout sandwich places, and limited services, pizza for maybe one slice or such as that. Snack and non-alcoholic beverage bars are included. And then within that, if they bake these items on the premises and sell them, so not a standalone bakery, but if they bake these items on the premises and they sell them in the same place, these 4 types of businesses are included. Carry out donut shops, bagel shops, pretzel shops, and cookie shops. Ice cream parlors are again in this section, they were in another section. And any business primarily selling hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza, chicken, or specialty cuisine. You might think, like a falafel or something, or a gyro. So those are all included. Then the application, I have another video with regard to the general terms of the loan and how it works. There is a forgiveness section after the loan is made based upon what the loan is used for during the first 8 weeks. I said earlier that these loans can be applied for beginning April 3rd and April 10 and all the way up until June 30th. If you have a loan already in existence with the SBA under the 7A program, you can ask your lender. They have discretion to give you a deferment on that loan for 6 months, all by themselves. If they want to, you ask them and they ask to the SBA, they can defer that for up to a year. So that is separate, but I want you to be aware of that. Having an SBA 7A loan does not disqualify you from this loan. If you have an emergency other type of loan under the latest regulations pertaining to the virus and this quarantine situation, if it was specifically obtained for payroll, that will disqualify you from this loan. However, if it was not for payroll, if it was for other operating expenses, and you can defend it based upon what you use the proceeds for, then go ahead and apply here and be prepared for that. This loan can be used for mortgage interest payments if you own the property, for rent payments, and for utilities. Then obviously all of the payroll costs, those payroll costs include these items. Salary, wages, or similar compensation, cash, tips or equivalent, vacation, parental, family, or sick leave, separation or dismissal allowances like severance, group health care benefits, including group health insurance payments, retirement benefits, state and local taxes assessed on employees' compensation, and compensation or income to the sole proprietor or the independent contractor less than or equal to $100,000. Similarly, the loans can be used for payroll, but not for any amount to any individual person over $100,000 prorated over the year. So you need to keep track of that, because that is not applicable. But that's all just the payroll. And the forgiveness part, which is in another video, it's a separate application. The forgiveness part keys in on the payroll. Even though these items are specifically stated, the SBA has given additional guidance that if you have replacement inventory or any specific items that are required to keep the business going, those will be considered and should be allowed. They want to keep businesses that are still in business. They want to get the money to the working people as soon as possible. So that's why there's a priority on the payroll part of it for the forgiveness portion. And as I stated in the other videos, the initial disbursement of the loan will be at 0.5% interest, which is 0.5%, and the maturity will be 2 years. So they anticipate that the loans will be computed and amortized out by your bank for 24 monthly payments. There is a deferment available. I talk about that in the other video. So let's go on to the application. The Paycheck Protection Program application form is 2 pages, okay? And it does require certification. So you need to identify the business name, the legal name. Please include the full legal name, including chartered, incorporated, corp, PA, LLC, because they need to identify what type of company it is. And then you need to have the trade name or DBA if that applies, the primary address, the tax identification number, which is the employer identification number for a business, social security for an individual, the business phone, the primary contact, and email. Now, all of this is keyed in on February 15 of 2020. The business had to be in existence on February 15, 2020. There are questions put up to the SBA about businesses that had to close because of this financial debacle, the situation we're in. And so if you were in business and closed right before or right around February 15 of 2020, go ahead and apply and explain to them, because this is to get people back to work and keep people working. Even if they're physically not in the premises, they understand this, but they want people to continue to be paid. Part of the goal of this is to not burden the states with additional unemployment, which then splashes back on the business owners and requires an increase in all of our unemployment taxes going forward. So go ahead and apply. But the relevant time period is February 15, 2020. So you are going to put down your average monthly payroll, and that multiplied by 2.5 is going to be the loan amount. They also ask for the number of jobs. The SBA guidance is go by head count. The official statute, which I read, which is 800 pages, talks about the full-time equivalent employees, and they want to include all employees, full, part, seasonal, occasional. So they're going by a head count. An example was given that if you had 18 employees on February 15 and you, because of this loan, you're offering back everybody to come back to work, but only 15 come, then the 15 is what you should probably include instead of the 18. They're looking to the business owner to do it in the way that it's most beneficial for you. This is an unprecedented opportunity, And we want everyone to be honest, and you will be certifying. And if these certifications are incorrect, there is recourse back to the owners by the SBA if the money is not used as represented or as it is designed. If everything is, all the rules are followed, there is no recourse by the bank to you, by the SBA to you, or and there's no collateral required. So that's a really important part. If the business did not exist in 2019, then the period for the average payroll is just the first 2 months of the year. But if the business was in existence last year, then you look at that period. And they don't specify this in the application, but the actual law said it's and the outside maximum amount of each loan is $10 million. You can't borrow more than $10 million per loan on this. And if the business is not new, but it was established and in operation on February 15, then it's the average total monthly payment for all of the payroll costs I listed during the year before the date the loan is made. So the loan hasn't been made yet, but they're supposed to be fast tracking this to get it out quickly. And what happens is you complete the application, the bank reviews your financial information, which should be your tax return for probably 2018, and any payroll records that you have for 2019. They verify, they review the certifications you're giving, and they look you in the eye or talk to you on the phone or over email and say, are these true and correct? They then submit the application into the SBA. The SBA works off of that. Then it comes back to the bank. They have you then come in, sign, or send it to you, sign the note, and they disperse the funds. They're trying to do it extremely quickly. Then you have 8 weeks to spend this money, and then during that 8 weeks, the amount that you did spend, you can apply for the forgiveness. They do not have a deferral section on here. The banks will have that separately. You can also apply for the deferral, and I put that in the second video. I'll put the link again below. So I interrupted myself. So the lesser of the average total of the monthly payroll and costs before the loan, for the year before the loan was made, times 2.5 plus any loan that you receive from January 31st forward, that can be basically refinanced here. So that can be included. So it's that total amount or $10 million, whichever is less. That's the amount of your loan. If the business was not in operation last year, just this year, then you're just going by the sum of the average monthly payroll totals for January and February 2020, and then times 2.5, then plus any outstanding loan that you have that was made from or after January 31, or $10 million, whichever is less. So back to the application. You're going to list the owners of the applicant, which is the applicant is the business. You're going to list those with greater than 20% ownership stake. Okay? Attach separate sheets if necessary. They have a place for you to put in 2 names. But if there are more that have more than 20%, for example, if it's 20% for everyone, then there's going to be 5. So the maximum would be 5 people or 5 entities as the owner. Then you have to, there are 4 questions. Is the business or any owner presently suspended, debarred, proposed for debarment, declared ineligible, voluntarily excluded from participation in this transaction by any federal department or agency, or presently involved in a bankruptcy? If you have a bankruptcy pending, you're ineligible. Number 2, has the business or any of the owners or any business owned or controlled by them ever obtained a direct or guaranteed loan from the SBA or other federal agency that is currently delinquent or has defaulted in the last 7 years and caused a loss to the government? Yes or no? Number 3, is the business or any owner of any other business with common management? If yes, then you need to list all the affiliates. They're double checking to make sure it's one to the customer so that you're not getting multiple loans for the same entity. And then, has the business received an SBA economic injury disaster loan? Again, that was from January 31. between that period and April 3rd? If yes, provide the details. Now here, they're looking for payroll. So they don't want to double up on payroll. If that loan was not for payroll, as I just said, it can be refinanced into this loan. Then if you answer, then the next two questions, if you answer them yes, and you answer the bottom number 7 no, then you will not be approved. These two that they're looking for yes or no is, are you presently subject to an indictment, criminal information, arraignment, or other means by which a formal criminal charge are brought in any jurisdiction, or presently are you incarcerated or on probation or parole? Yes or no. Within the last 7 years, for any felony or misdemeanor for a crime against a minor, which is someone under 18, have you, number 1, been convicted, number 2, pleaded guilty, number 3, pleaded nolo contendere, which means they had enough evidence and so you kind of just don't fight about it. Number 4, been placed on pretrial diversion, or have you been placed on any form of parole or probation, including probation before judgment? Yes or no. And then finally, I am a U.S. citizen, yes or no, or I have a lawful permanent resident status, yes or no, or no. This is limited to citizens and resident aliens. One thing that is not on the application, but it is, no member of Congress may obtain any of these loans. The second page is a general representation of 5 things. You represent that you've read the statements required by law and executive order included on the form and you understand them. Comply whenever applicable with civil rights and other limitations in this form. All SBA loan proceeds will be used only for the business-related purposes or as specified in the loan application. I think you're going to have replacement inventory or other things listed, but that really is going to come into play at the time of the forgiveness request. And if it is crucial, based upon your experience, they're going to rely on you knowing your business to deal with your banker on that. So if you have an established relationship with the banker, it might benefit you to do this with them if they're familiar with your business, because they have discretion on some of these things. And the SBA will be looking to the lender to deal with you, and then the SBA will deal with the lender, because the lender is making the loan to you and then the SBA pays them back, or you pay them back, depending. All right, then to the extent feasible, I will purchase only American-made equipment and products. That was added in later. That was not in the original law. And the applicant is not engaged in any activity that is illegal under federal, state, or local law. Then you authorize for applicants who are individuals, you're authorizing the SBA to get a criminal background check on you from the criminal justice agencies to determine your eligibility for the loan. So then they have you certify. Each 20% or greater owner must certify in good faith to the below by initialing. So if you have multiple people that own 20% or more, you need to do this as a group effort so that you can get everybody to sign on here. They have to initial this. The current economic uncertainty makes the loan request necessary to support the ongoing operations of your business, the applicant. Number 2, you certify the funds will be used to retain workers and maintain payroll or make mortgage payments, lease payments, utility payments. I understand if the funds are used for unauthorized purposes, the federal government may pursue criminal fraud charges. Well, before they get to criminal fraud charges, they're first going to say you don't get forgiveness of that part of the loan, and you have to pay that back. Then if it's complete fraud, if none of it's used, then they can pursue you for fraud. Loan forgiveness will be provided for the sum of documented payroll costs, covered mortgage interest payments, covered rent payments, and covered utilities. In my second video, I'll put the link below, I explain what those covered items are. Due to likely high subscription, it is anticipated that no more than 25% of the forgiven amount may be for non-payroll costs. And what that means is they anticipate there's going to be a lot of applications for this money. They want this money to go first to people. Then during the period beginning February 15, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020, the applicant has not and will not receive another loan under this program. And then I further certify the information provided and the information I have provided in all supporting documents and forms is true and accurate. I realize that knowingly making a false statement to obtain a guaranteed loan from SBA is punishable, and it cites this statute. With imprisonment not more than 5 years or a fine of up to $250,000. And they go on for that. And if submitted to a federally insured institution, then it's punishable by imprisonment of not more than 30 years or a fine of not more than $1 million. Finally, you certify that the lender will calculate the eligible loan amount using your tax documents. So they're relying upon your information. I have submitted. And then you affirm that the tax documents are identical to those that were submitted to the IRS. And you understand, acknowledge, and agree the lender can share the tax information with the SBA's representatives, including those of the Office of the Inspector General, for purposes of compliance. Then it is signed by the representatives or the owner and dated. Instructions here, the first page is really what's going to help you the best. It identifies who is considered an owner for the 20% who has to initial, and those are obviously, if it's a sole proprietor, that's the person. If it's a partnership, then it's all general partners and then limited partners who own 20% or more. For a corporation, it's owners of 20% or more of the corporate stock. For a limited liability company, it's members owning 20% or more of the company. And if the applicant is owned by a trust, then any trustor has to sign. One thing that they don't have in the application that is in the regulations, it is in the statute, a trust is not eligible for this loan and an estate is not eligible for this loan. So that takes care of the loan application, the eligibility, and the loan amount. Good luck with your applications. Share this video with someone who has a business, in business by themselves, in business with someone else, formal, informal partnership. Let's get this word out so that they can apply. Applications are being taken effective April 3rd. The time frame is fairly short. They have streamlined this entire process. There is no fee that is able to be charged to you. The only thing that you would have to pay is the principal and interest payments if any portion is not forgiven, or if the full amount is forgiven, then interest at the rate of 0.5% for the time that the loan is outstanding. And if you get it deferred, later on you get forgiveness, but there's a certain amount that's left over that you still have to pay, and those will be amortized out over 10 years at an interest rate not more than 4%. So you would have to pay that back. If you want to pay that off sooner, no prepayment penalty. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. If it was, give me a thumbs up, or if you learned something, leave any comments or questions below. Subscribe to Brass for our other videos. Like I said, share this with anyone who it might benefit, and come and see me next time. Thanks for watching.